When you picture Michigan, what usually comes to mind? Is it the stunning Great Lakes, those deep pine forests maybe, or, Motor City, Detroit's history?
Definitely those. The lakes, the cars.
Right. But what if I told you there's kind of this other layer, something underneath that familiar image, a hidden history, maybe a bit darker, a bit,
Uh,
well, unexplained?
okay.
Yeah.
Intriguing, like a hidden side to the state.
Exactly. So, okay, let's unpack this a bit. Today, we're doing a deep dive into some of the most, well, profoundly haunted places in Michigan.
Sounds fascinating. Lots of history there, so I bet there are some stories.
Oh, absolutely. And our mission isn't just, listing ghost stories. We want to explore the actual tales, the historical background behind them, and those really gripping eyewitness accounts, all the things that make the Great Lakes State kind of a hotspot for this stuff.
Right, getting into the why behind it.
Yeah. This isn't just about spooky campfire tales. Think of it as your shortcut to understanding why Michigan pops up so often on those most haunted states lists. You might find some surprising facts, maybe a few aha moments about places you thought you knew.
Landmarks you drive past every day, perhaps.
Could be. So Michigan isn't only known for its natural beauty, it's also got these incredible grand old building structures that sometimes feel a bit unsettling, like the past is still hanging around.
Mansions, old hotels, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Let's start with one in Detroit, the Whitney.
Oh, yeah, I know the Whitney. Beautiful building.
Stunning, isn't it? That Romanesque revival style. Built
Yeah.
way back in 1894 by David Whitney Jr. The lumber baron, incredibly wealthy.
Right, and now it's that upscale restaurant.
That's the one. But apparently it serves up more than just fancy food.
Okay, here we go. What are the stories?
Well, the account suggests David Whitney Jr. himself and his wife Flora are still roaming around. Especially the elevator, second floor, third floor.
Roaming. Like full apparitions. Or more subtle stuff.
Both, it seems. People talk about sudden cold spots, seeing shadowy figures, and, this is creepy, the elevator moving all by itself.
Wow, the elevator thing is classic. Always unsettling.
Isn't it? And there are even more specific details, like people saying David's ghost plays the piano, or that his daughter, Grace, is seen sipping tea out in the carriage house.
Huh. Very specific scenes.
Yeah, and get this, there was a report, pretty recent, late 2021. A staff member was alone in the mansion after closing, totally empty, and they clearly heard one of the pianos playing.
Okay, that's definitely unnerving. Alone in a huge old mansion and the piano starts up. No, thank you.
Right.
All right.
Makes you wonder who's still enjoying the music.
You know, what's compelling there is how those personal stories, like David Whitney's dedication to that house, his family's life there, how they seem to just stick to the place.
Yeah, like woven into the walls.
Exactly. Like their presence is imprinted on the architecture itself. And the piano thing, it makes you ask, are these spirits just sort of replaying old memories? Or are they actually trying to interact, communicate through those familiar sounds?
That idea of a personal imprint, it really hits home when you look at the Felt Mansion over in Holland.
Felt Mansion, okay. What's the story there?
Well, it's a kind of a tragic one. Bor E. Felt, he was an inventor, built this huge place, like 17,000 square feet back in 1928. Built it for his wife, Agnes.
Okay. Sounds nice so far.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Agnes passed away just weeks after they moved in.
Oh, wow. That's awful. So soon after getting their dream home.
Exactly. And that profound sense of loss, that sudden tragedy, many people think that's why Agnes might still be there, especially, they say, in her old bedroom.
A lingering presence tied to grief. Makes sense, in a way.
And the mansion itself has had quite a history since then. It was a seminary for a while, then a home for nuns, even a state police post, and a correctional facility.
Quite the transformation. But Agnes is still the main story.
Seems so. People on tours, visitors, they talk about seeing shadow people, doors opening and closing on their own, carpets getting rolled up randomly, even seeing full apparitions of her.
Wow. And you can tour it now?
Yeah, they do historical tours, so you can, potentially feel that lingering sadness yourself.
Adds a whole different layer to a historical tour.
Definitely. So, okay, from that story of grief, let's shift to Henderson Castle in Kalamazoo.
Henderson Castle. Another grand old place.
Yep, built in 1895 by Frank Henderson, a businessman. Like the Whitney, it's now a bed and breakfast, actually. An event venue, too.
Okay. Similar setup. What's the hunting link here?
Well, Frank Henderson, the guy who built it, he died only 4 years after it was finished.
Another case of not getting to enjoy the home for long.
Right. And guests report seeing him still roaming the hallways. But here's where it gets interesting. They also report seeing a peculiar little girl, a Spanish-American war veteran, and even a dog.
A whole cast of characters, not just the original owner.
Exactly. And the phenomena are varied too. Doors slamming, strange noises, voices echoing, and apparently the very distinct smell of cigar smoke, like someone just lit up.
The Phantom cigar smoke, another classic.
It really is. And this place has leaned into it a bit. It's been used as a setting for horror movies. They host murder mystery dinners.
So they embrace the spooky reputation.
They do. And guests often describe these presences, Frank especially, as friendly, almost like they're still caretakers, looking after their old home.
That's a really interesting angle, the idea of friendly ghosts. How do we kind of square that?
Yeah.
The idea of terrifying haunting versus something almost comforting, a protective spirit.
Yeah, it's a bit of a contradiction, isn't it?
It is, and it speaks to the spectrum of reported experiences.
Yeah.
Maybe these aren't all malevolent things out to scare us. Maybe some are just residual energy, or spirits whose connection to the place was just too strong.
Like they loved it too much to leave.
Maybe. If they were deeply dedicated to a place in life, it seems plausible that commitment could, well, linger. We perceive it as friendly because they're just continuing their routines, maybe acting like guardians, not trying to frighten anyone. It sort of blurs that line between eerie and strangely comforting.
That makes sense. So, okay, if these big houses hold the echoes of their founders, what about those lonely sentinels out on Michigan's coasts? The lighthouses.
Yes. Isolated spots, often with solitary keepers. Prime territory for ghost stories.
Totally. They offer a different kind of haunting, often more isolated, maybe more intense. Let's head up to the UP, the Solschwa Point Lighthouse in Gulliver.
Solschwa Point, okay.
Captain Willie Townsend worked there in 1902 to 1910, and he actually passed away at the lighthouse. Some stories say it was a tragic fall.
Died on the job, basically.
Yeah. And his commitment, well, it really endured. Get this. He was embalmed in the lighthouse basement and then laid out in the parlor for almost 3 weeks while his family traveled to get him.
Wow. 3 weeks. The lighthouse parlor. That's quite something. Creates a strong connection, I'd imagine.
You'd think so. And that attachment seems to linger. People report the distinct smell of cigar smoke again.
Townsend smokes cigars, too.
Apparently. Also, hazy faces seen in bedroom mirrors, and the sound of furniture moving around upstairs in the tower, like the captain's still up there tending the light.
Furniture moving. Eerie.
And more. Phantom footsteps, seeing a spectral figure holding a lantern, even hearing the sound of an old foghorn that's long gone, just carried on the wind off the lake.
That really paints a picture. The isolation you mentioned. It feels key here.
How so?
Well, the inherent solitude of a lighthouse, right? Plus the lives of the keepers, often very solitary, very dedicated. It seems like those conditions could be, well, ripe for spirits sticking around. Their duty, their commitment, lasting even after death. Still watching the waters.
A legacy of duty. I like that. It fits. Okay, downstate now, in Whitehall, the White River Light Station. Built 1875.
White River, okay. Another old one.
Yeah, and Captain William Robinson, he was British-born. He and his wife Sarah oversaw it for nearly 50 years. William died there too in 1919, aged 87. Still devoted to his duty right up to the end.
50 years in one place. That's dedication. Does he linger too?
Oh, yeah. Visitors report hearing the distinct tapping sound of William's cane on the spiral staircase. Like he's still making his rounds, climbing up to the light.
The sound of his cane. So
Yeah.
specific.
Isn't it? And sometimes William and Sarah are apparently heard whispering together in the museum display room, and things get moved around dust rags, other small objects, like they're still tidying up.
Still keeping the place neat for visitors, perhaps. Friendly ghosts again.
Seems like it. But if you want a lighthouse with maybe more immersive activity, you have to talk about Big Sable Lighthouse near Ludington, eastern shore of Lake Michigan.
Big Sable. Heard of that one too? What goes on there?
A lot, apparently. It's considered incredibly active. You get the usual stuff, footsteps, the cigar smoke smell.
Cigar smoke seems popular with lighthouse keepers.
Apparently so. But also reports of disembodied shattering, like conversations you can't quite make out. And the really weird one, the tower lights turning on by themselves when absolutely no one is inside.
Okay, wait. The actual main lighthouse beam turning on.
That's the report. Imagine being one of the volunteers who can actually stay there.
You can stay overnight.
Yeah, they have a volunteer program. So imagine you're there tucked in for the night, you know the light is off, and suddenly, whoosh, that beam cuts through the darkness outside your window.
That would be intensely unsettling. More than just a whisper or a cold spot.
Right. How would that even feel?
It's a powerful image. And it touches on something important, I think. Unlike, say, a cold spot or a faint noise,
Yeah.
which you could maybe rationalize. The main light turning on. That's a very tangible physical event.
Harder to explain away.
Much harder. It challenges those purely psychological explanations. It makes you wonder if a spirit, an essence, whatever you want to call it, can actually interact with physical energy like that. A profound act of, well, lingering will.
Lingering will. Well, okay. So moving from isolated lighthouses to places with maybe a heavier past, places stained by hardship, crime, real tragedy, these seem to create a different kind of haunting, often more potent, more disturbing.
Like institutions,
Oh.
old hospitals, prisons.
Exactly. Case in point, Eloise Psychiatric Hospital in Westland.
Ah, Eloise. That place has a dark reputation.
It really does. It was once Michigan's largest psychiatric hospital. The D building is the only part left now, but it housed over 400 patients, and its history is, well, it's grim. Reports of mistreatment were common, staff apparently chaining up patients, abuse, just awful conditions.
History of intense suffering.
Definitely. And the encounters reported there reflect that darkness. Things like furniture moving on its own, even when it looks empty. Disembodied voices echoing in hallways, ghostly apparitions, unexplained crying sounds.
Just echoes of the pain that occurred there.
Seems like it. The basement, especially, is said to attract the ghosts of former patients. It's actually a popular haunted attraction now, which is a bit strange, but people who go there say the chilling past feels very, very real.
You know, this raises a critical question, doesn't it? With places like Eloise, how much of what people experience is genuinely supernatural? And how much is the sheer psychological weight of knowing what happened there?
The power of suggestion, you mean?
Partly, yes.
Yeah.
But also just the impact of that knowledge, the collective memory of all that pain and despair. It creates an atmosphere. It can absolutely prime our perceptions for unsettling experiences, whether there's a ghost there or not.
That's a really strong point, the power of knowing the history. But then, how do you explain things happening in places where maybe the history isn't as well known, or on sites where something new was built over tragedy?
Good question. What are you thinking of?
Like the Michigan Bell Telephone Building in Grand Rapids, built in 1924.
Okay, a telephone building. Seems ordinary enough.
The building itself, maybe, but it sits on the grounds of the old Judd White House. And that site has a horrific past. Back in 1909 or 1910, a man named Warren Randall, he'd lost his leg in a railroad accident, was suffering mentally.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, he murdered his wife, Virginia, sometimes called Vashti Rowland, by turning on the gas in the house. Then he killed himself.
How awful. So the telephone building is haunted by them.
Reports suggest, yes, people working there, visitors, they talk about hearing a woman's voice, pleading and crying, and, very distinctly, the thumping sound of a wooden peg leg.
Randall's peg leg. That's incredibly specific and chilling.
Isn't it? A direct link to his injury and the violence, but there's another layer, too. Another source mentions the spirit of a different woman, Emily Johnson, supposedly a very dedicated telephone operator from the building's past.
An operator. So not related to the murder.
Apparently not. Her presence is marked by flickering lights, and sometimes people hear a faint woman's voice over the static on old phone lines, if they're still there. So it's like a blend of that old violent tragedy and maybe a more residual energy.
Interesting. Multiple layers of potential haunting on one spot.
Yeah. Let's circle back to Detroit for a sec. The Masonic Temple.
The big Gothic one. Huge building.
Massive. Neo-Gothic marvel. Now, there's this persistent legend, probably not true, but it sticks around, that the guy who financed it went bankrupt and jumped off the roof.
Ah, the tragic benefactor story. Common trope.
It is. But what's interesting is inside there are documented reports. Unidentified figures seen, doors slamming, cold spots, that classic feeling of being watched.
Okay, so standard haunting reports.
Pretty standard, yeah. But
Yeah.
here's the specific bit. Security guards have claimed they've actually seen an apparition, a figure, heading upstairs towards the roof.
As if replaying that legendary leap.
Exactly, like it's stuck in a loop, reliving that final, terrible moment, a phantom caught in its darkest act.
Wow. That's poignant, even if the original story isn't fully confirmed.
Right. And finally, in this category of heavy places, Michigan State Prison in Jackson.
The old Jackson prison. That place has history.
A long and violent one. Established way back in 1838, it was once the largest walled prison in the world.
Incredible. And I bet its history isn't pretty.
Not at all, just riddled with violence. There was a mass breakout in 1840, riots over the years, terrible neglect, escapes, wrongful deaths, just immense cruelty within those walls.
The kind of place that would soak up negative energy, you'd think.
Absolutely. It's often described as just teeming with the restless souls of former prisoners. People report seeing apparitions, hearing voices when no one's there, even feeling like they've been touched by something unseen.
Physical contact. That ramps things up.
Definitely. And it's noisy. Reports of unearthly moans, phantom screams, doors slamming shut, loud banging on pipes.
Sounds terrifying. Any specific areas known for activity?
Yeah, Subblock 7 is often mentioned. People hear whispers and footsteps there specifically. There are also legends about a cursed inmate, a specter in the chapel. It's just packed with grim stories.
A real concentration of suffering and potentially spirits.
For sure. Okay, so we've talked buildings, mansions, lighthouses, institutions, but what about the land itself? Michigan's natural landscapes, ancient sites, they also hold these deep, often disturbing histories. Sometimes it feels like the ground itself remembers.
Like the energy is tied to the location, not just the structure.
Exactly. And there's probably no better example than Mackinac Island.
Ah, Mackinac. Beautiful place, but yeah, it feels old. Lots of history there.
Layers upon layers. It was an Ottawa settlement originally, then a huge fur trading post, site of two pretty bloody battles during the War of 1812.
Right, Fort Mackinac.
Yep. And crucially, parts of the island were Native American burial grounds. Plus, there's the darker folklore, like the drowning pool, where women accused of witchcraft were supposedly subjected to the float test.
So indigenous history, colonial violence, folklore, it's all packed onto one small island.
It really is. And the reports of hauntings across the island are incredibly varied, almost reflecting that density. People talk about seeing an evil entity with glowing red eyes.
Whoa, okay. That's intense.
Yeah. But also, a man in a top hat playing piano, a woman in Victorian clothes, sounds of babies crying, furniture moving in rooms, just pervasive feelings of deep sadness in certain spots.
A whole spectrum of phenomena. Any specific haunted locations on the island?
Oh, plenty. Mission Point Resort, for instance, said to be haunted by Harvey.
Harvey. Who is Harvey?
Story goes he was a college student back in the 60s or 70s, died tragically after a heartbreak. People report seeing him, especially in the resort's theater, feeling cold breezes where there are no open windows, objects moving.
The jilted lover ghost. Another classic theme.
It seems to be. Then there's the Grand Hotel. Iconic place, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Elegance defined, but haunted too.
Staff certainly think so. They report some hair-raising encounters, phantom figures gliding through the ballrooms, furniture getting rearranged overnight in locked rooms.
And you mentioned burial grounds near there.
Yeah, there are known Native American burial sites on the island, not far from the hotel grounds. Makes you wonder if that contributes.
Could be. Disturbing ancient grounds often leads to activity.
And of course, Fort Mackinac itself. Given its violent past, it's supposedly teeming with spiritual energy.
I can imagine. Battle sites often are.
Specific hotspots within the fort include the old post hospital. It's a museum now. People claim severed limbs sometimes appear inexplicably in photographs taken there.
Severed limbs. In photos, that's graphic.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Also, the guardhouse is known for intense cold spots, even on the hottest summer days. And sightings are common, too. A crying woman seen in the cemetery near the fort, a figure of a soldier near the Sally Port North entrance.
It sounds like the entire island is just saturated with these stories.
It really does feel that way.
You know, what's really fascinating here is that layering you mentioned. All these different historical traumas, the indigenous history, the colonial battles, the personal tragedies like Harvey's, they all seem to feed into this incredibly rich tapestry of paranormal reports across the whole island.
Yeah, it's not just one ghost story, is it?
Not at all. It's like multiple narratives, all interwoven, manifesting in different ways. It makes you wonder, do distinct historical periods create distinct kinds of hauntings? Or does it all just add up to a general sort of energetic residue over the whole place?
That's a great question. Hard to know for sure, right?
Right.
But the sheer density of history there is just, wow. Okay, let's move away from the island to Pear Cheney in Beaver Creek Township.
Pear Cheney. Ghost town, right.
Exactly. It was actually a thriving lumber town, started in 1873, had about 1,500 people at its peak.
So what happened? Why a ghost town?
Diphtheria. A terrible outbreak hit in the late 19th, early 20th century. It just decimated the population, went from 1,500 down to maybe 25 people. Catastrophic loss. It was officially declared a ghost town after that.
Wow. Wiped out by disease. That's bleak.
Very. And today, the town site and its cemetery are known for, well, lots of reports. Ghosts, witches, glowing orbs of light, hearing disembodied laughter, finding handprints on cars parked nearby, seeing strange moving lights.
Sounds like a very active place. Witches, too.
Yeah, there's a local legend attached to it. Some say the town was cursed right from the start because it was built on Native American land. And another story tells of a witch who was banished from the town into the woods, and she cursed the land as she left.
So you've got the tragedy of the epidemic, plus this underlying folklore of a curse. Double whammy.
Pretty much. You feel the weight of both when you hear the stories. Now, if you're looking for maybe the most intense spot, at least by reputation, Seven Gables Road, near Dansville,
Seven Gables Road. I think I've heard of this one. It's called Michigan's Most Haunted Road.
that's the one. It's this really ominous stretch. Starts as a paved road, then turns into this tree-lined tunnel almost, leading to a dirt road. And there's a red gate there. Lots of warnings about not crossing that gate.
A gate you shouldn't pass. Why? What's the legend?
The main legend involves a witch. Story goes, her cottage was burned down by angry townsmen, and she died in the fire. Now, they say if you go past the gate, you might hear her cry out. And the really sinister part, the last person in the group to make it back over the gate after hearing the cry supposedly dies within 3 days.
Whoa. Okay, that's terrifying. High-stakes haunting.
Very. And there's another grim tale layered on top of that about a family who supposedly moved onto the land later. The story is the father just lost his mind, murdered his wife and kids, hung their bodies from the gables of the house,
Oh my God.
and then hung himself from a nearby tree, which became known locally as the hanging tree. It's just steeped in madness and despair.
That's incredibly dark. Combining witchcraft legends with true crime-style horror.
Yeah, it covers a lot of bases for fear. And finally, let's touch on Finley Cemetery and Seidman Park over in Ada.
Ada. Isn't that linked to the Ada witch legend?
Exactly. These two spots, the cemetery and the park, are ground zero for that story. The basic legend is about a woman in Ada, back in the 1800s, who was having an affair. She'd meet her lover in Seidman Park.
Okay. Standard affair story so far.
Right, but her husband found out. He followed her to the park one night, caught them, and murdered her right there. Then the story goes, the husband and the lover fought and ended up killing each other, too. A triple death.
Brutal. All three died in the park.
That's the legend. And Ada residents today claim they still see apparitions of all three of them in Seidman Park.
The woman, the husband, and the lover. Still reenacting it.
Potentially. Over at Finley Cemetery, which is nearby, visitors report hearing footsteps following them in the woods or feeling phantom taps on their shoulders when no one's there.
Creepy. And the Ada witch herself, is she seen too?
Yeah, the description is often quite specific. A woman in a long blue dress with blonde hair. She's supposedly seen sometimes along the roads in Ada, waving her arms like she's trying to flag someone down for help.
Still seeking help after all this time. It's a really tragic image, isn't it? That story just seems etched onto the whole area.
It really does. So, okay. We've covered mansions, lighthouses, institutions, ghost towns, haunted roads. What does it all mean? We have such a huge range of reports, right? Flickering lights, weird smells, disembodied voices, actual full apparitions. What are we supposed to make of all these experiences across Michigan?
There's a lot to process.
It is. And you have paranormal investigators going into these places, right? With their spirit boxes, infrared cameras, EVP recorders.
Electronic voice phenomenon, yeah. Trying to capture objective evidence.
And sometimes they do get intriguing results. Weird anomalies on camera, those EVPs, strange electromagnetic readings. But it's not just the investigators, it's ordinary people too. Residents, tourists.
Just regular folks having experiences.
Yeah. Reporting things like sudden inexplicable temperature drops, seeing shadows move in the corner of their eye, sometimes even seeing clear apparitions. Like, remember Emily Johnson's story back at Henderson Castle? That supposed transparent figure in period clothing that materialized and reached out?
Right, the one trying to communicate.
Yeah.
Very vivid.
Exactly. So we have all this anecdotal evidence, some potential instrumental data. What are the possible explanations?
Well, this brings us back to that crucial point, doesn't it? Are these truly spirits from beyond? Or are we looking at a really complex mix of things? Human psychology, environmental factors, maybe just the deep emotional marks left on places by intense events.
A scientific perspective, basically.
Right. And from that perspective, many classic signs of haunting can often be explained naturally. Those cold spots could be drafts. Orbs in photos, usually just dust particles, insects, or moisture near the lens. Weird noises. Could be the building settling, pipes, animals.
So debunking the common stuff.
Exactly. Or at least offering plausible natural explanations. Then there's the psychology of it. Our fascination with ghosts is partly driven by our fear of the unknown, our fear of death. These stories give us a way to confront those fears in a well, relatively safe context.
Like a scary movie lets you experience fear without real danger.
Precisely. And the power of suggestion is huge.
Hmm.
If you go into a place expecting it to be haunted, your brain is primed to interpret ambiguous stimuli, a creak, a shadow, as something supernatural. The atmosphere of an old, dark place plays a big role, too.
Okay, that makes sense. What about seeing faces or hearing voices?
That often comes down to pareidolia. That's the brain's tendency to find familiar patterns, especially faces, in random data, like seeing a face in the clouds or in wood grain or in shadows. Similarly, auditory pareidolia could explain hearing voices in static or white noise. Your brain is trying to make sense of randomness.
Our brains are pattern matching machines, basically.
They really are. And some researchers also look at environmental factors. Things like infrasound sound waves below the range of human hearing, which can supposedly cause feelings of unease, dread, even visual distortions, or unusual electromagnetic fields. Some studies suggest these might contribute to those eerie sensations people report in haunted locations.
So, drafts, psychology, weird sound waves.
Lots of potential explanations.
Definitely. But this raises the big question, right? Do these explanations cover everything? Are they enough for the really specific, detailed accounts? Or for things like, going back to Big Sable, that lighthouse beam switching on by itself?
Yeah, that one's harder to dismiss as just a draft or seeing a face in the dark.
Much harder. And that's where the enduring mystery lies. While psychology and environment undoubtedly play a part, maybe even the primary part in many cases, some phenomena just seem to resist easy explanation. It keeps the debate going because there aren't simple, definitive answers that satisfy everyone or cover every single report. It really leaves you wondering. So, wrapping this up, whether you come down on the side of being a total skeptic or you're a full-on believer, these stories from Michigan, they really remind us how much about our world and even our own minds is still a pretty compelling mystery.
They tap into something fundamental about history, memory, and place.
Yeah, we've journeyed through these grand old homes, the lonely lighthouses, those heavy institutions, the ghost towns, the ancient grounds, all just packed with stories. And it's that mix, isn't it? The history, the folklore, those intense personal experiences. That's what keeps drawing people in, residents and visitors alike.
The allure is undeniable.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. What if? What if some places simply remember the past? Not in a conscious way, maybe, but the events, the emotions, they leave an imprint, an echo. And maybe what we call a haunting is just us, the observers, somehow tuning into those echoes.
Places holding memories is a fascinating idea.
It really makes you question the nature of reality itself, doesn't it? And the marks that lives and deaths can leave behind. So the next time you find yourself exploring Michigan, maybe keep these stories in mind. Explore further if you're inclined safely and respectfully, of course, because the real thrill, maybe, is in the discovery. And perhaps, just perhaps, in that little shiver that runs down your spine when you least expect it.